In this edition of Artifacts, singing together while being miles apart.
Even though we can't sing together right now, we can still create music and create joy.
South Reno celebrates the holidays in the brightest way possible.
If everybody put up a string of lights, I think it'd look fantastic. You don't need all the other stuff, just everybody in the spirit.
How a community of Carmelite nuns found their niche in the arts.
We are producing something that we believe in. We're creating cards and messages that we know touch people.
And breaking expectations of a handbell performance.
This is not your grandma's handbell choir. We like to do a lot of different genres.
It's all ahead on this edition of Artifacts.
Funding for Artifacts is made possible by Sandy Raffealli, the June S. Wisham Estate, Carol Frank Buck, Merrill and Lebo Newman, Heidi Marie Rockland, Meg and Dillard Myers, the annual contributions of PBS Reno members, and by
Hello, I'm Beth Macmillan and welcome to Artifacts. Barbershop music is certainly unique. The singers involved create beautiful harmonies without any musical instruments. The Reno-based High Desert Harmony Chorus and its all-female cast have been performing for decades. While the pandemic changed their plans, the ladies have found new ways to bring their music to their audiences, and in the process have enjoyed a renewed sense of camaraderie and connection.
High Desert Harmony is a local women's chorus. We sing a cappella music, primarily in the barbershop style, but other contemporary a cappella. Just the style of barbershop music takes people back to a time when things were maybe simpler or slower or just really fun.
He promised me affection and protection, protection. I knew my life would never be the same.
Barbershop is an American pastime. It started in America. So when people get together, they sing, and you find your part where you can fit in and you harmonize.
So barbershop is made up of 4 parts. There's tenor on the top, there's lead, which is the melody, there's baritone, and then there's bass, the lowest part.
And when you put them all together, we create a wonderful sound.
What's his name? What's his name?
High Desert Harmony has about 20 members, and they range in age right now from 25 to 83. It's just a really broad array of wonderful singers. All different walks of life from all over the Reno Sparks community.
We are the local chapter of Sweet Adeline's International, which is an organization of women singers.
There are 20,000 members around the world. They cover more than 10 countries. It's kind of special to not only be part of a chorus and a group in Reno and Sparks, but also to be connected internationally with all these other singers that are doing the same thing.
My mother was a Sweet Adeline back in the early 70s, and I had gone to a couple of rehearsals with her. And a few years after she passed, I was trying to find something to do, and I went to a function, and I met some men from the Silver Dollar Chorus, which is the local men's barbershop chorus, and got talking to them, and they told me that I should go check out High Desert Harmony, and I did. And I walked into the meeting, and I was greeted very warmly with open arms, and I decided this is what I wanted to do. Tried out, made it, and it's the best thing I've done for myself.
When you wish upon a star,
It lifts me up. It reminds me of times when I've sung with my mom, or when I sing with our quartets and the other women on the risers. It's a special feeling you get, and you want to share it.
It's thrilling to get to put all of your hard work out there on stage. It maybe only lasts for a few hours, but it's everything that's led up to that moment. When the pandemic hit, actually right before everything started closing down, we made a decision to go virtual.
We've not been able to meet together and sing together because of the risk of spreading the virus. And our competition was canceled that we'd been working so hard for. And of course, we haven't been able to sing in like the Art Town events. So we've had to make lots of changes and lots of pivots. But fortunately, we have a really great director who's been able to lead us through this, and we're, still singing and still creating music.
We've been meeting every week on Zoom since the pandemic started. We rehearse for about 2.5 hours.
We all know Zoom, and you can't actually sing at the same time. It doesn't work, so we're all sort of muted when we're singing in our own houses. So we're doing these virtual choruses where we record ourselves.
So everybody just uses whatever device they have. It's usually an iPhone or a tablet or their computer, and they record themselves, and then they send that in to me, and I edit the audio, make sure everything's lined up correctly, and then edit the videos together. So it's been a huge learning curve for me. Since that's not something I'd done before, but just incredibly fulfilling.
The first time that Amy did one of our first virtual concerts, I was amazed. How well we sounded, how fun it looked, how enjoyable it was, and that we were sharing something with other people. This is what we're all about. This is High Desert Harmony.
I think music is such a great unifying force, both creating music and listening to it. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what your political background is, where you came from, whether you have a PhD in music theory or have never read music before. Music is enjoyed by everyone.
Even though we can't sing together on the risers right now, I know we will in the near future. And when we do, that first rehearsal is probably going to be pretty emotional. It's going to be exciting just to be on the risers with our sisters in song, be able to hear their real voices, the connection. It's going to be pretty spectacular.
You can check out High Desert Harmony's virtual concerts by visiting highdesertharmony.net. Now let's head to Hidden Valley for a holiday tradition, the Parade of Lights. Since the early 1980s, this community has been pulling out all the stops and pulling out thousands of strings of lights to decorate their homes for Christmas. As a result, the Parade of Lights attracts families from across the region who drive through the neighborhood to see the dazzling displays.
The Parade of Lights is an event hosted by the Hidden Valley Homeowners Association. And the people dress up their homes with creative lighting, Christmas-type lighting.
Parade of Lights is where the community in Hidden Valley gets together and just decorates, and it makes no difference if you just put up one string of lights or if you decorate like I do. I've been decorating for approximately 50 years, and I started in Santa Cruz, California, and I started off with probably a couple of little yard ornaments and a string of lights on the house, and that was it, and just grew from there. I've lived in Hidden Valley since 2002, and we go all out front and back for our decorations for everybody to enjoy.
Well, as you can see in my garage, if you look around, it almost looks like Santa Claus threw up in here. We've lived here in Hidden Valley since 2007, and so we've been doing it since 2008. And this year we're adding some more pieces to our collection. So it's going to be better than last year. My wife Bonnie's into vignettes. We have a couple of mice with some Christmas trees behind them, and they're cooking on a campfire. And then we have Ballerina. She's got skates on. Last year, we wanted to put together some sort of a pond with skaters. And so we basically purchased some skaters. We got some other items today to put into the pond this year. So it's kind of expanding. And then we're also into large blow-ups. We have blow-ups that are 14 feet tall, 12 feet tall, 6 feet tall. We got this bear that hugs you out there. Kids love it. It's one thing to put out a bunch of lights, but it's another thing if people in viewing it actually figure out that, wait a minute, these people really are into vignettes. So it's kind of like a slideshow, so to speak. And as they go down, things turn into different vignettes. So I think that's getting very artistic if you do something like that.
I start around the 1st of November decorating for the Parade of Lights, and it takes a little while. I go to Walmart, I buy lights. I go to Target, I buy lights. I go through a place in Tennessee that's called Christmas Done Bright. Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever. Doesn't make any difference. If I like it and I see it, I buy it. I have a 10-foot stocking with 4 elves that are animated, and it looks like they're climbing the ladder to go fill the stocking. My strategy is to try to get something new every year or bring it out of retirement, because I've got quite a bit of decorations, so I can let something sit for 4 or 5 years and then bring it back out. And then you go and you start testing everything. Then I'll get all the stuff out for the front of the yard and make sure it's all working. Okay, these are all ready to go. Then I'll do the big decorations right around Thanksgiving time. I put the train on the roof, and the train's 40 foot long. And I built a frame for the train, and it's quite heavy. I assemble it on the roof, and I'm not allowed on the roof unless somebody's here where they can call 911. I've never been afraid of heights, and I like it, or I wouldn't do it.
The Hidden Valley Homeowners Association, they have a committee that goes around and judges the houses, picks the top 10. Every home that enters the Parade of Lights contest, they seem to have their own ideas about how they should decorate their homes. And we get a lot of pleasure of going around looking at these homes because they are different.
Last 2 years I've gotten first place, and then 3 years ago the fellow that lives on Pebble Beach, he got first place, which is fantastic. I'm not trying to outdo anybody, but as long as I bring happiness to people.
I've had a number of people talking about the fact that they grew up either in Hidden Valley or they grew up around town. They knew about the Parade of Lights the way it was many years ago. Now they have kids of their own. And they're thankful about the fact that we're still doing this. It's a good feeling.
To check out the list of winners, head to hiddenvalleyhomeowners.com. The website includes a map of Hidden Valley to help you with your journey through the Parade of Lights. And now it's time for this week's art quiz. Who was the first U.S. president to have a Christmas tree decorated with hundreds of multicolored electric bulbs? Is the answer A. Woodrow Wilson, B. Theodore Roosevelt, C. William McKinley, or D. Grover Cleveland? And the answer is D. Grover Cleveland. The life of a Carmelite nun is one of prayer, study, and contemplation. But there is so much more to this life than some may realize. The Sisters of Carmel of Reno have quite the artistic side. Their art is seen during times of joy, celebration, even sadness, in the form of exquisite greeting cards. Here's how the Carmel of Reno print shop came to be. A little more than 60 years ago, 8 Carmelite nuns traveled to Reno. They held one-way tickets in their hands and determination in their hearts.
The sisters came in 1954 with the understanding that they would eventually build a monastery. The sisters came here from Indianapolis, and they had a little house over on Virginia Street.
It wasn't long before the sisters set their sights on a peaceful hillside in southwest Reno.
They purchased this property here, started construction, I believe, in 1956. The monastery was completed in 1958, and that's where we are today. Early on, we had to find a way to bring in income to support the monastery, to build the monastery.
The sisters received a donated press, and their print shop was born. They learned the craft of printing with the help from professionals. One of the first was Silver State Press.
They had a huge commission from Harvey's up in Tahoe to do printing for their casino. And they had so much to do that they asked the sisters, could we borrow your press and let us print these brochures or tickets and things like that?
And in return,
people who were in the business came and taught them how to print. It just went on incrementally from that, and it's just amazing what the sisters were able to learn. You have to understand, they knew nothing about this, and yet they came and they learned. It was a real labor of love. It wasn't just like, well, we need to make money. It was like a total investment.
From that investment blossomed creativity. Since the 1960s, many sisters have transformed their own paintings, drawings, and other works of art into greeting cards.
It's just wonderful how creative they all are. We're just so blessed by the people who have come.
Half a dozen sisters are actively creating new art that will be featured in this year's catalog.
We come together and we choose what cards we want to use, what's going to look good on our brochure. We have really 2 seasonal times. We do about 6 cards in the spring that we call all occasional cards, where it's the birthday cards and the thank you cards and sympathy and healing. And then we have our Christmas cards. We want to have a lot of different styles because we certainly have learned that people have very different tastes. There are so many different designs, and it's kind of fun to look at them and say, who did this? Does it match the person's personality, or has a person really stretched and gone totally outside of their creative orbit and done something that's different? Once those cards are chosen, they're processed, they're photographed and made into a digital image. We have Sister Maria who does all the setup, and there's a lot to it. Maria does her magic with her computer and puts it through different programs, and I don't know what all she does, but it comes out this beautiful picture. And once it's set on the computer, then it is sent to the press. Once it gets to the digital press, the card comes out. It's then taken to the cutter. We do big stacks of paper cut down 4 times. And then it's sent to the folder, and the cards are folded. And then they are sent to the packing room where they wait for the orders. The person who is making the invoice almost always writes a personal note on it. It's not just a job for us. We really believe that we want to be like everyone else who earns their living, who has to work. That's a really important part for us. And it is what motivates us too. Like, we're one with everybody. We're in solidarity with people.
That feeling of solidarity is partly why the nuns at Carmel of Reno choose not to wear a habit.
We don't look like the traditional Carmelite monastery. We try to live a really authentic life. And one of the things that I have found is that people really accept us very quickly for who we are and come to appreciate it.
And the print shop helps the sisters to live an authentic life in a number of ways.
It allows for each sister in their own way to create. We are producing something that we believe in. We're creating cards and messages that we know touch people. It enriches our lives very, very much. The benefits of the friendship and our connections with the people is beyond measure. It's the heart of why we do the print shop thing, I think, and it's what keeps us wanting to do it. You know, the connection is very nourishing to each of us.
To see this year's selection of cards, visit carmelofrenocards.com. For more than 20 years, the tin tabulations and their energizing handbell melodies have delighted audiences across northern Nevada. A handbell performance is often associated with the holidays, but the tin tabulations are proving that handbells are perfectly acceptable any time of the year.
Handbells are an interesting instrument.
People think handbells are only played at Christmas. A lot of people think that bells are only in church, and they aren't.
To learn the basic technique of a handbell is actually very simple. You pick up the bell, you make sure it's facing the right direction. That's always important. Double check to make sure you have the right bell in your hand, and then you just do a quick flick of a wrist, and it'll ring.
Like with a piano, it's like taking off a piano key and handing it to someone, and then taking off another key and handing it to somebody else, and handing it to somebody else. Each bell has a pitch, just like each key on a piano is a certain pitch, a certain note. And just like, you know, a tuba plays really low notes and a piccolo plays really high notes, size is relative. So the small bells play the high pitches and the really big bells play the low pitches. If you just walked in off the street thinking, wow, what is this whole tin tabulations handbell thing? What you would see is a group of very energetic, very good musicians helping you to have a great time and show you millions of things to do with this instrument that you probably have never seen before and go, wow, I did not know you could do that.
How did tintabulations get their name? Someone had heard the word tintinnabulation, which is a rough translation of what a handbell would be in Latin. So they said, Barb, what's that word? And she didn't really know, so she tried to conjugate it herself from her understanding of Latin, and she missed. So instead of tintinnabulations, we got tintabulations.
This is not your grandma's handbell choir. We like to do a lot of different genres. We don't stick to just classical or just pieces written for bells. I think it's a unique art form because of the dependency upon other people to make the beautiful sounds.
The thing that makes Tin Tub fun is that they're passionate about ringing. We all have different skill levels. There's different people who are better at different things. But in the end, the focus is always on making music.
It's a big time investment. We rehearse 3 hours a week.
We do about 20 to 30 performances a year. You really feed off an audience's energy.
I would like to have enriched their lives in some way through the performance.
The best thing we can do as a handbell ensemble is to make one new person in the audience come back or even become a ringer.
The Tintabulations have a virtual concert series for you to enjoy. To learn more, visit tintabulations.com. And that wraps it up for this edition of Artifacts. For more arts and culture and to watch past episodes, visit pbsreno.org/artifacts. Until next week, I'm Beth Macmillan. Thanks for watching.
Funding for Artifacts is made possible by Sandy Raffealli, the June S. Wisham Estate, Carol Frank Buck, Merrill and Lebo Newman, Heidi Marie Rockland, Meg and Dillard Myers. The annual contributions of PBS Reno members, and by